Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this tutorial I am going to show you how we can create this news app in React Native. So here you can see this is the home screen of the news app, and here first let me reload the app, then I will give you a proper demo of it. So here you can see this is a onboarding screen or a splash screen, and we have a beautiful animation for these components. And now if I click on get started, then we are presented with the home screen of the app. And here first we can see the user information at the top, and then we have the search bar, and after that we have this breaking news section, and here we have Carousel with the news information, and here we have 5 breaking news scrolling in this Carousel mode. And after that we have trending right now option, and here we have several categories, and here we can see the categories, and by default all category has been selected, and here we can see the news related to that. And if we want to see news related to other categories, then we can do that. So let's go to this category, science, and here we can see all the news related to science. And then similarly if we go to any other categories, then we can see news related to that particular category, right? We can go to another category and let's open a news. So let's click here. So here we can see we have the news detail screen, and here we can read the news. So at the top we have the news title, and then we have some basic information related to news, and then the image, and then the actual article of the news. And here we can see we have this heart icon. If we click on this heart icon, then we have an alert that the news have been saved. So that means this news have been saved in Bookmark. So let's go back to our previous screen. So here you can see we have 4 different tabs. So first we have the home screen, then we have the discover. From here we can search, and then we have the saved option. This is the section where that news have been added. This was the news which I have bookmarked just now, and these are previously added. So let's go to any other news from here. So here we can see it is already have been bookmarked, so that's why it is filled with this red color. So if I click over here, then the alert shows news unsaved. Okay, so now let's go back to our previous screen, and here we can see that the news have been removed from this screen. So that is the bookmark function. And then here we have the discover. So here we can see the search option, then we have the categories and the country list. Let's first provide some search query. Artificial intelligence, it is related to technology, and let's see in India any news related to that or not. Let's click on search. So here we can see we have the technology and all the news that are from India, right? So here we can see all these details. So now let's go back, and also let's go back again. Now instead of India, let's choose United States. So right now it is the same search query, which is artificial intelligence, and the same category, but the country is changed. So that is what we are being presented with over here. Now let's change the technology to business, and here also we can see we have the category business, and also we can see technology, because an article can have multiple categories. So that's why it is business, but for this it is technology and business as well, right? So that's how the search is working. And we have the settings screen, and here we have these options, and it doesn't do anything. I have just added this screen. I haven't implemented the login functionality, so the logout is not working yet. So it is just for the UI sake, but the other 3 screens are fully functional. So you can see that this is a fully functional news app built with Expo in React Native. So if you are interested in this kinds of tutorial, then hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell icon so that you get notified whenever I post a new tutorial on this channel. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. Okay, so here I have opened a directory in Visual Studio Code, and within this directory I have many more React Native projects present. Within this directory I will create the new project, and for that I have provided the starter template, and I will provide you the link of it in the description below. And in this starter template I have done some basic setup which will help us to build our news app. So here let me just copy it and let's clone this. So here it has been cloned. Let's first rename it. I will name it as Expo News App. So I have opened that particular project in Visual Studio Code, and let me just change the name in package.json as well. Now first we need to install the dependencies, and for that we need to use npm install command. So here I am just using it, and it will take some time to load the dependencies. And let me discuss. I have added few extra dependencies here, such as Axios, then we have Expo linear gradient, then I have used moment, and then I have used async storage. So these are the extra dependencies which I have added in this project. Now let's run this by using this npx expo start command. Here our app is running. Now let's discuss this app structure. So here I have first added an image. So this is the getting started image which will be present in the first screen, which is the onboarding screen. And then in the app directory we have this tabs directory, and I have these tabs, the for screen, and we have the layout. And in the main root app we have this index. This will be our welcome screen or onboarding screen. So here you can see we have the welcome page. Here if we click on go to home screen, then we will be presented with the home screen of the app, and then we have these 4 tabs, right? So here I have already provided this setup, this custom tab bar setup. Here I am not showing you the implementation of it because I have already created a separate video on this particular topic, and you can watch that video from the eye icon at the top right hand side of the screen, and also I will provide the link of it in the description below. Here I am just going to explain it a bit, but I'm not going to show you the implementation of it as I have already provided it in the starter template, and I have a dedicated video on that topic as well. Now after that we have this components directory, and here we can see we have already 2 components present. These 2 components are for this custom tab bar, and then we have the constants. For the constants we have the category list. So this is the list. Then we have the colors which will be used in our app. Then we have the country list. So this is the country list. In the discover screen I have shown you that we have the category and then the country list by which we can search for the news, and then we have the icons constant, and this is for this bottom tab bar. And then we have this types directory, and within these types we have this type, this news data type. So this is the type definition of the response which we are going to get. I will discuss about this in details when I will fetch the news article from the API. So let me first discuss this tab layout. Here we can see I have first imported tabs from Expo Router, and here for this tab bar props I have provided this tab bar component which I have created here in the components directory, and from this component this tab bar is getting rendered. Also I have provided these tab screens. What is the purpose of these? The purpose of these first is the title. I have provided the title for each of the tab screens, what we are seeing over here, and also at the top header. And another thing is that the order of the tabs. So if I remove this, let me comment it out, then you can see that these are changed, right? And the texts are not properly aligned, the titles are not there which I want, and the ordering also is not in a proper way which I want. So that's why I have used these tab screens to customize that. And this is the tab bar which is rendering these components, and it is the same thing which is provided in the React navigation documentation, this tab bar component as they have shown here. So that is what I have used. And for the return, here they have used the touchable opacity and these things. So for that, here I have used similar things, but I have used the tab bar button component, which is another component mainly focused into rendering a tab button, and by that I can provide the animated styles. So I have provided the animations, and for the tab bar all these things are similar. I have just added these things. So first I have these dimensions. I have given some height and width by default, but I am setting it here on tab bar layout, and this is for on layout. So when this is rendering, that time I am setting the dimensions, and by this dimension I am getting the width of the button, and based on that I am moving this. Okay, so this is the component which I am animating, and this component is this animated view, and this view is shifting by this tab position X, and this tab position X value I am updating by on press. So whatever present here for the on press, that thing is present here as it is, but here I have added these codes to update the tab position X value, and I have provided a duration here. So this button width is providing this gap, and this is the button width which is getting determined by this set dimension. So that's how I have created this. And for the tab button, as I have mentioned that it is the button mainly, and with the button I have provided an animation for the text, and that animation is the opacity. I am hiding the text when a particular tab is focused. So that is what you will get in the starter template. Now let's start creating the app, and that we can start doing by this index page, which is the welcome screen. So for the welcome screen, first we need to reload the app. So here we are at the welcome screen, and here we can see we have this touchable opacity, and for the touchable opacity I have provided this router.replace to go to the tabs layout, but normally we do provide push to navigate to different screens, right? Let me change it to push. If I use this push, then we went to the home screen, but if we want, we can go back to our previous screen, which is the welcome screen, but I don't want my user to go back to welcome screen. So that's why instead of pushing the new screen on the stack, I have used replace here. By using replace, I can go to the new screen, but I cannot go back to our previous screen, right? So that's why I have used replace here. Now let's start creating the layout, and for that, first here let's use the image background, because that image which I'm going to use, that will be in the background, and on top of it we will provide the text and the button. So for the source, let's provide the image. So let's go to asset images, and then this image, this getting started JPG, and for the style of it I will use flex 1 so that it covers entire screen, and for the resize mode I will provide cover, and here I don't need this. So now I can see that the image is present properly, but here we can see that these texts are not on the top of the image, so that I need to fix, and that I can do by creating a view, and within the view let's provide these components, and for this view let's provide a style, and let's name it as wrapper, and here for the wrapper let's provide some styles. So first for it also I will provide flex 1, and these contents needs to be positioned within this image background component. So here it should be. So now we can see that the image is present in the screen, and with that we cannot see the text, but it is there. I believe it is here, but I am not seeing it. Let me change the color to white. Yeah, so it is present here. So now we need to position it properly. So let's position this wrapper. To position it, I need to provide it flex end for the justify content. So it is positioned at the bottom, and then let's provide some padding bottom, and I will provide 50, and let's provide padding horizontal. I will provide 30. And we have another component here, which is the button. They don't have any gap in between those, so that's why I will provide gap 10. So now there is some gap, but this button is not visible properly, but I will fix that soon. But before that, let me provide a background color here, and that color would be RGBA color. I will provide black color with some opacity. So for this wrapper I have provided this background color, and now it is looking pretty good. So now we need to style the text. For the text I need to provide the title and it will be stay updated text. So let's create the title styles here. First it will be color white, so we have the colors component present and there I have the white color, so I have provided that, and this color needs to be imported from the constants. Then after the color, let's provide a font size of 24. Let's provide a font weight of 600. So it's looking good. Now let's provide some letter spacing. It will make the text look little more stylish. For the line height of it, I will provide 36 and I will align it at center. Now after this text, I need to provide another text which will be description, and for the description let's provide a text. Let me paste that text. So here I will provide this text: get breaking news and personalize updates directly to your feed. Now after that, let's create the description style, and for the description let's provide a color, and the color would be the white color. Then for the font size, let's provide 16 pixel. For font weight, I will use 500. For the letter spacing, I will provide 1.2. For the line height, I will use 22 pixel, and obviously the text align would be center for this one also. So it is looking good. Now after this, we need to create the button, and that is this button, this touchable opacity. So for the touchable opacity, let's provide style and let's name it as button, and for this text let's provide button text. Okay, so let's create those styles here. First for the button, and then we will have the button text. So for the button, let's provide background color, and that color would be the tint color from our colors constant. So here we can see that. Now after that, let's provide padding vertical 15. Then for the margin vertical, I will use 20. Let's provide align items center, so the text is positioned at the center. Then for the border radius, I will use 10. So now it is looking good. Now for the button text, I need to provide some styling, color white. Then let's provide a font size of 16, and let's provide a font weight of 700. So now it's looking good. So here, instead of go to home screen, it would be get started. Now let's reload it. So here it is just appearing abruptly, but I don't want that. I want to provide some aesthetic to it. That's why I will provide some animation, some small animations which will look good here. And to provide the animation, I will use React Native Reanimated, and that React Native Reanimated is already present in Expo project. So here you can see it is already installed. It is present in an Expo project by default. And to apply the animation for this text, we need to make it animated text. So this animated needs to be imported from React Native Reanimated, and that I have done here. So that is similar for the other text also. Now React Native Reanimated doesn't have anything for the touchable opacity, but we can wrap it with a view. So animated.view, we can wrap this touchable opacity with that. So that's how I have created the animation components, and here I can provide the animation. So for this text, let's provide entering animation, and here for the entering, I will provide fade in right. And to see these animations, let's go to React Native Reanimated, and here we can see the layout animations. So here entering and exiting animation. So here we can see we have different animations. So here they are presenting it right. So that's how we can see there are multiple animations, and we can customize many more things here. As you can see, we can provide delay and then other props to it to make it much more customizable as we want. So this is the documentation, and from here I am using this fade in right, and this fade in right is also imported from React Native Reanimated. Now I can configure it little further. I can provide a delay here. So for the delay, I can provide a duration, and the duration is 300 millisecond, and then I can provide a duration. That is the duration for how long this fade in right animation will happen, and this delay means it will delay for this 300 millisecond, then it will start appearing. So let me provide the duration here. Now after that, here you can see that this text is appearing from right side. So this is the fade in right animation, and it has some delay, that is this delay, and for the 500 millisecond duration it is appearing. If I make it little higher number, then it will be much more slow. So here you can see that, right? So that's how we can customize it. So that's I have done for the title. For the description, let's provide entering animation, and for this one also I will provide fade in right, but for the delay I will provide a bigger number, 700, so that I want first this title to appear, then this description. So that's why I have provided a bigger number for the delay, and after that let's provide a duration, and for the duration I will provide the same duration as the title. Let's save it and let's see. So first it is appearing, then it is showing. So now it is looking good. Now after that let's provide this animated view entering animation, and that I will use fade in down, so it will appear from the bottom. And let's provide a delay much more higher than these two. So first it will appear this title, then the description, and then finally this button, and the duration for this one also be the same. So now save it. Now finally reload this. So that's how our animation is working, right? So now we can click on get started, and now we are presented with this tab layout, and this is where now I want to start implementing the home screen of the app. But before that, let me go to welcome screen again, and here we can see the status bar content is not visible properly. So for that, here I need to import status bar from expo status bar, and for this one I need to use light style. So now it is looking good, right? So that is done. Now after that, let's focus into this home screen, and here for the home screen we can see we have this header app bar present, and that is not required for the home screen. Let's first get rid of that, and to get rid of that, here for the tab layout I can provide screen options, and for the screen options header shown, make it false. So here the header app bar is gone for all of these screens, and it is fine as of now. So now let's go to this home screen. So here in the home screen, first we need to create this header, right? So for that, let's get rid of this center alignment, and here we can see that we have this text present at this top, which is not a good place to be in. So we need to provide some margin at the top, and that we can get from use safe area insets hook from the React Native safe area context. So here we can get the top, and I will name it as safe top. So here let's provide padding top safe top value. So now the text is present here. Now let's create the header. It will be this section which is containing this user information and this icon. So for that, first let's create a component in components directory called header, and let's import that here. So it has been imported. Now let's create that here. So first we have this view. Let's style this as container, and after this container, here we should have the image for the user image, and that would be an image from an URL, and that URL is this URL. Now let's provide some style for this. So I will name it as user image. Let's provide styles here. So first it will be container and then the user image. So for the container, first I will provide padding horizontal 20 so that it gives some space here. And for the user image, let's provide a width and height as 50. So here is the user image. Now let's provide a border radius of 30. So now it's looking good. So now it is rounded. For this image it is not that much prominent, but for the other image it would be. I am not controlling this image because this is the random image URL. It will provide the image randomly. I don't have any control to it. Let's reload it once and let's see if I'm getting any new image, but no, it is not changing the image, so it is fine as of now. But the border radius is making it circular, which is looking good. After this user image, for the header, here we can see we have this user information, and at the right side we can see this icon. So we can create the icon here first. So let's create the icons from icons, and for the name of it, let's provide notifications outline. For the size of it, I will use 24, and for the color of it, I will use colors from colors constant, and it will be black. Okay, so here is the icon. Now I need to position it at the right side. So for that, for this container, I can provide flex direction as row, and for the justify content, let's provide space between. So now it is positioned here. Now for the align items, I will provide center, make it properly aligned here. And for this icon, let's provide touchable opacity to make it a button. So now we can click over here, right? Now after this user image, we have this text welcome and the username, and that is beside the image, and that's why we need to wrap it with another view, and then within the view I need to provide the image and then those texts, and those texts are two separate texts and their flex direction is different. Their flex direction is column, so that's why I need to wrap it with another view. So let's create another view and let's provide the text. So here it will be welcome text and then the username. So it is welcome John Doe. Now let's provide the styling here. So for this view style, I will provide user info. Let's create that user info here. First it will be flex direction row, align items center, and let's provide a gap which is 10. So here we are providing some gap. Now after that, for this view, I don't need to provide much here. I need to just provide some gap, so that I can provide here. That's why I'm not providing it a name. For the text, let's provide welcome text, and for the username, let's provide username. So let's create this welcome text and then the username. For the welcome text font size, I will provide 12 pixel, and for the color of it, I will provide dark gray color. Now for the username, I will provide font size 14. For the font weight, let's use 700, and for the color of it, let's use black color. So now the header is looking good and it is same as this one. After the header, we need to create a search bar. For that, here in the components directory, let's create search bar.tsx, and let's import that here. After the header, let's import the search bar. So here it is. Now let's create the search bar here. So for the search bar, let's provide a style for this wrapper view and let's call it container. So for the container, let's provide margin horizontal 20. It will provide some gap here. And also for this header, let's provide a margin bottom 20 so that it provides some gap here. Now after that, let's create another view, and in this view, first we will have the icon and then the text input field. So it will be icons. The name of it will be search outline. For the size of it, I will use 20. For the color, I will use light gray. Now let's provide a style here and let's call it search bar. Now let's create that search bar here. First provide a background color and it will be this color. Let's provide 12 for the padding horizontal, and for the padding vertical provide 10, and for the border radius I will provide 10. Okay, let's change this. So after this icon, I need to create the text input field, and that needs to be imported from React Native, and we don't need this text. So for the text input placeholder, I need to provide search text. For the placeholder text color, I will provide that same color as the icon. Now for the search bar, let's provide flex direction row and let's provide a gap for 10 pixel. Now let's provide style for this text and let's call it search text. So here for the search text font size, I will provide 14. For flex, I will provide 1, and for the color also I will provide the same as this one, so which will be light gray. Okay, let me change this to dark gray. Okay, so now it's looking good, and I want to change this auto capitalize as none, so that when we start typing, that time we don't have this first character as capital character. So let me reload it. Now let's see. So here it is not being capitalized, right? So it's working perfectly fine. So the search bar component is done. Now after that, here we can see we have this breaking news section, and this is the time when we need to fetch the data from an API. And for this I am using newsdata.io to get the news API, and from my research I have found that this is the best news API service provider out there. This video is not sponsored by them, but while doing research about the news API for this tutorial, I found them and reached out to them because some of their great feature is in paid version, such as full news content, fetch only those news which has an image URL, and many more. But I was particularly interested in these as these features are essential for an app. Other API providers are providing the news URL, which then needs to be loaded in a web view, and that will make the app UI not so good looking. As for each news, it will load a different website every time user reads it, and every website has their own design layout which will not fit with the design of the app. So I reached out to them and they were kind enough to give me a month of their top premium package for free to create this tutorial, and they gave me full freedom to create the tutorial as I want. So now let's go to dashboard. I'm already logged into my account, and here for the advanced search, here we can see a layout where it is showing the search query URL. So here is the query URL to get the data, and here we have some fields we can customize the API URL. So first let me go to this language. So here by default no language is selected, so this URL will fetch the news for each language. If I want to customize it, then I need to select the language. I will select the English language, so it added the language query argument here. Then we can customize it as the country. So here for the country, let me select India, and for the category we can select any category or we can select none. So that's how our query is being created, and let me copy this API URL and let's paste it here. Let's see. So here we can see the data. Here we have the article ID, title, link, and the other details. So here we can see the content, we can see the image URL, and the image URL for this one is null. So as I mentioned, for the app I have these images. So if any news article doesn't have the image URL present in it, then it will not look good here. So that's why I need to query that, and that I can do by providing image equal to 1. So now if I see, then for this I can see the image URL present, right? And the same for this one also. So all the news presented here will have an image URL as I have provided image equal to 1. So that is the feature which I was talking about. So that's why I have found this pretty useful. So now let me fetch some news data in our app, and for the type of it, as you can see, this is the news data type which I have already created. So this is the type definition, and these are the fields which I am getting, right? So that's how it is created. Whatever response we are getting, that definition I have provided here for the type definition of the news data. So now in the index, let's first fetch some news data. So here first let's create a function called get breaking news, and here I am going to get the news articles. It should be an asynchronous function, and within it let's create a try block, and for this let's provide the URL, and the URL would be this URL. So let me copy it from here and paste it here, and here we can see our API key. Instead of using the API key like this here, I am going to use an environment variable. And for that, let me first cut it from here, and let's create a .env file here, and let's create an environment variable called expo public API key, and let's provide the API key here. So for the expo, we need to create the environment variables like this, expo_public, and then we need to provide the name of the variable. That's how it should be. This complete text is the variable name, expo public API key, and that I can use here. I'm already using template literal, so here I can use variable. So first it will be process.env, then let's use this export public API key. So let's paste it here. So that's how I have moved my API key to environment variable and fetching it here like this. And here I want to provide some more customization to this API URL, as I have provided language and image. With that I want to also provide remove duplicate. Okay, so it will be remove duplicate in a small letter equal to 1, because I have seen there are many duplicate responses also present in the response data. That I don't want, so that's why I have provided this remove duplicate equal to 1, and this will take care of duplicated news. By providing this argument, it will not provide any duplicate news data in the response. With that I will provide another one, which is size equal to whatever number of response you want in an API call. I want 5 news articles for the breaking news, so that's why I have provided 5 here. So that's how I have configured the URL. Now let's get the response. So for that use await, then I'm using Axios here. So let's import Axios from Axios and then use get method, and let's provide the URL here. And here let's see how we are getting it. So this is our response, and within this we can see the status and total results, and in these results we are seeing our actual results, right? So that's what we need to consider. Let's check if we will have an response and response data, then we can set the breaking news. And for that let me create breaking news state. So it will be use state, and it will be array of news data. So here we need to set the breaking news, and we can set it by going to the data of the response, and then we need to look for the results, because this results is holding the array of the news data. So it will be results, and here let me provide it in a map function item.title. So here I can provide the news title. So now let's save it, and here we are getting an error because I'm using just try block here only. With the try I need to handle the error as well. So for the error let's provide error message like this, and I can provide error type as any. Let's save it, and let's call this get breaking news function in an use effect hook. Okay, so here we can see we have the error message request failed with status code 401, and I think I know why this is, because I'm using this environment variable and I haven't restarted the app after creating the env variable. So let me just close this Metro Bundler UI process and then again restart it. Okay, so this time it is loading the .env file, and let's see, hopefully this time it will work. Okay, here it is. We are getting the results with some warning, and this warning is nothing, just the unique key we need to provide here, but that is not an issue right now. The main thing is that we are getting the response. That is fine. So I'm getting rid of this, and now I need to create the breaking news component which will display these, right? So here let's create breaking news.tsx file, and let's import it here. So for the search bar let's provide a margin bottom 20 to provide a gap here. Now let's create this breaking news component, and this is going to be a carousel, and I have recently created a dedicated tutorial to show you how to implement the image carousel like this. So if you want, you can check that video from the eye icon of this video, or you can check that link in the description below. I am going to implement it now here. However, if something is not clear to you now, then you can definitely refer to that tutorial, because that have a detailed explanation over there. And for this right now I'm not going to explain it that much, but obviously I'm going to implement it, so you can definitely follow along. But as I mentioned, if anything is not clear, then definitely you can refer to that video. So here for this view, let's provide a style called styles.container, and for this container let me provide style, and for this I'm just going to provide a margin bottom. Then for the style of the text, let's provide styles.title, and let's create that title here. And let me just copy paste some styles as they are not that much vital here, so I just use this font size, font weight, color and some margin, right? So it will be breaking news like this. After that, let's create a view and let's call this view slide wrapper, and for this one I will provide with 100% flex 1 and justify content center. Now within this view, let's create the flat list, and for this flat list I need to provide some data, and that data we need to provide here as prop. Let's create news list prop, and that would be array of news data type. So here we are going to take the news list and let's provide that news list here. So we need to provide that. So here for the news list we are going to pass the breaking news, which we have already set here. After that, let's provide a key extractor, and there I will return this index list item. And then we need to provide the render item, and that is the item which will be rendered for each of the item in the data. Here we can get item and index, and then here let's create slider item. So we need to create this slider item component, so let's create that here. And here we are going to get slide item prop, and that will be single news data type. This will be a single item. Here we are getting the array of news data type, but for the slide item we will get only one, so it is not array, it is just single news data type. And then along with it also we will get index, and that will simply a number. So here we can get slide item and index. So here let's provide a style for this slide item, and let's call it item wrapper, and for this one I will provide position relative. For the width of it I will provide a width which needs to be imported from dimensions. So from dimensions get, we can get the screen width. So for the width I will provide this width. For justify content I will provide center. For align items I will provide center as well. Now here I will provide image. So for the source of it, let's provide URI, and it will be slide item dot image URL. And then for the style of it, let's provide image style. Let's create the image style, provide width as full width. For the height 180 pixel, and for the border radius I will provide 20. Now save it. Now let's update the import. So for the slide item it will be imported from here. Let me change this to absolute path like this, and here now we need to provide the slide item. So we need to pass the item, then for the index we need to pass the index. Now save it. Now with the save we are not seeing anything here. Now let's see if we are getting those data properly here or not. Let's provide the title. So I think something is not right over here. So previously we were getting the data here and I have displayed the title, but right now it's not passing it properly. So here let me just console log the response to see if I'm getting the data properly or not. Okay, so yes, I'm getting the data, but somehow I'm not passing it properly. So let me see what is the issue here. So to check it, let me create another state called is loading, and by default it will be true, and when we will get the data then we will set is loading as false. And now here let's check for that. If is loading equal to true, then it will be activity indicator. For the size of it I will provide large, and if is loading is false, then we will display the breaking news. So we are seeing the loader and the loader is gone. Now I am not seeing the breaking news. Let me provide this horizontal, so horizontal scroll indicator and paging enabled. Okay, let me check it, what is the issue here. Okay, so here now it is showing. I haven't done much here. I have just seen that for this slider wrapper, if I'm using this width and this flex, that time it is not displaying. If I uncomment it, then it is not showing anything, and if I'm commenting it out, then it is showing the data, right? So everything is working fine. This particular styles is not working. And also I have just created this data use state and I have provided the data here instead of directly news list, and that is not any issue. If I use news list directly, then also it is working. Just these styles were causing the problem. So I can use the data here, and later on this data will be required, so it's fine that I use it now. After that I need to create few things, and those will be these things. So let me import it first and then let's talk about it. So first I need this ref, and this ref needs to be presented here for this flat list, and this flat list needs to be animated flat list, because I want to provide the animation, the carousel animation here. Along with it, I have created this scroll X, and this is a use shared value. This one will be used to provide the animation, and also I have created this pagination index, which will be useful for the pagination. Now after that we need to provide a function called onScrollHandler, which will handle the scrolling of these images. So here it is. Now I need to import this use animated scroll handler from React Native reanimated, and now I can use it here. So for onScroll I have provided this function, and for the scroll event throttle I have used 16. So here while scrolling I am updating the scroll X value, and now save it. And after that we need to pass the scroll X value to the slider item also. So here let's accept the scroll X, and it will be shared value, and the value we are providing is the number value, and we can accept it here. So here let's provide that. So we are passing the props properly. Now let me style it to make it look like this. So after the image I need to import a linear gradient, and within linear gradient we will provide the text and the other information such as this source icon, source name, etc. And this linear gradient needs to be imported from expo linear gradient. And as I have mentioned initially that these are the things which I have already installed in the starter template, so that's why I can use it over here. Now for the linear gradient color, let's provide transparent first, and then I will provide a RGBA color, and that will be a black color with some opacity in it. So here is the linear gradient, but it is not looking good, so I need to provide a style for this. So let's call it as background, and let's create that here. First I need to provide position absolute, left 30, right 0, top 0, width of it will be width. Now let me just comment left 30 as of now. It will be required later and I will explain that, but as of now let's provide this border radius 20, which is similar as image. Now save it. So whatever I am providing here, this is same as this one, because I want to cover the image with the linear gradient background. So that's why I have named it as background, and that's why I have set it like this. But when I will use left 30, that time it will be with minus 60 for this one, and for this image also it will be with minus 60, because I want other two items, the previous and next item, to display here little bit. So that's why I need to minus 60 from the width, and after that here I need to provide a padding 20. So here now let's create a view, and within this view let's provide this text. Within it let's create another view which will hold the source information, so the new source icon and the source name. So here let's check If we will have the source icon, then we will display that image. Let's provide style for it, so it will be source icon. Let's provide 25 for the width and height of it, and let's provide border radius 20. So here is the icon. Now after the image, let's provide the source name. So here is the source name. Let's style it. So for the style, name it as source info, and we don't need this view. We don't need to wrap the title within this view. This view would be for source info only, which will hold the source info, so the image icon and the source name text. So let's create that source info. So here first it would be flex direction row. This has been positioned beside this icon. Let's position it absolute, top 85 and padding horizontal 20. So it is positioned here. Now let's provide style for the source name. So first let's provide the color, and it will be white color. Let's provide font size 12, and for the weight of it I will use 600. For the source info, let's provide align items center so that it positions properly, and let's provide a gap of 10 pixel. So here it is a proper gap. Now let's create the style for the title. For the font size, it will be 14. For the color of it, I will provide white color. Now let's provide position absolute, and for the top of it I will provide 120. So now it is positioned here properly. Let's provide a padding horizontal 20. For the font weight, provide 600, and here I will provide number of lines as 2. Okay, so now it is looking good. Right, so the design is completed. Now after that, let's provide the animation, and for the animation I'm going to copy paste few things. So here first I need to provide an animated style. Let me paste that here, and let me update the import. So here I am creating an animation style, and for this I am providing a translate X value, and also I am scaling the item. So for the previous and next item I am scaling it little bit lower. So for the current item which is being present, that is scale 1, so that means that will be in normal size, but for the previous and next item I am scaling it to 0.9. For the translate X, for the previous and next item I am going to display some portion of that item, and that is what I have provided here in the translate X. So now I need to provide that animation style here, and for that it needs to be animated view. So it will be animated view, and let's close that here, and here let's provide that animation style, and here I need to provide it within a bracket. So now save it. After saving, here we can see the item. Right, so now it is positioned properly, and you can pause the video to take note of these things. Now after that, let's go to this breaking news. So now here first we need to create the loop functionality, and for that I have added this thing. When the end is reached, that time I am setting the data again with the news list. By this it will have a loop. Okay, so let's see. So that's how it is looping properly. Right, now I need to provide the pagination here. So for that, let's create the pagination component. So here I have provided the pagination. Now let's change the import to the absolute path. For the pagination also, it will have the similar kind of props. So let me copy it from here, and let's paste it here, and for this I will change this to items, and it will be array of this news data type. So I need to import that type, and for the index it will not be index, it will be pagination index, and it will be number, and for the scroll X it will be same as this one. Let's provide item pagination index and then scroll X here. so that I can use it. Now let's provide those, and after that let's provide pagination index, and that will be the pagination index which I have created here. So here for the pagination, let's paste some styles. So these are the styles, and for this I'm going to provide the style here. It will be container, and then it will be a view, and that view would be animated view. So animated needs to be imported from React Native reanimated, and then let's provide the view. Let's provide style here. So this is the pagination dot. This is a single dot. Now for each of the items we need to create multiple dots, so that's why it would be within this map function. And for the key, let's provide index here. So we have multiple dots. Now we need to provide the dot indicator properly, and for that here I need to set the pagination. Here is the pagination index, but I'm not setting it, right? So I need to do that, and for that I need to provide this viewability config callback pairs, and now let's create some function for it. So here I have pasted these codes for the viewability config callback pairs. I am creating this, and it is a reference, so I have used useref, and here for the viewability config I have used this one, and for the unviewable items changed I have created this function, and here I am setting the pagination index, and we don't need these things. So I have imported all the things properly. Now saved it. Now I can provide a checking here. Here I will check for the pagination index. If pagination index is equal to index, then it will be this color, this tint color. Otherwise it will be dark gray color. Now save it. Now after saving, here we can see the indicator properly, right? So it's working perfectly well. Now the pagination is complete. After that, now we are left with only one thing, that is autoplay. And for autoplay feature, I need to create few more things. So here I have created is autoplay state, then interval useref, then this offset shared value, and then I'm getting the width from this use window dimension hook, and we need to update those. Here within the use effect hook, I will update that. I will check for the is autoplay. I will update the offset value, and here also in the use derived value I will scroll to this value, and this scroll to needs to be imported from React Native reanimated, otherwise it will have an error. So now I have imported it from React Native reanimated. Now it is not throwing that error. Now for this on scroll handler, I need to provide another thing, which is this on momentum end, and here also we are updating the offset value. So now save it. After saving, we can see that it is autoplaying by itself, right? Now we are left with one final thing, which is while we will drag these things, that time I want to stop the autoplay feature. As you can see, when I have scrolled it, it started autoplaying by itself. I don't want that, so that's why I will provide this on scroll begin drag. I will set it to false, and on scroll end drag I will set it to true. Okay, so now if I scroll, then it will not autoplay. Otherwise, if I stop, then it will autoplay by itself. So that is how I have done this. And if anything is not clear to you here, you can definitely check out that dedicated tutorial for this image carousel. I have provided the link of it in the description below, and also you can check it out from the eye icon of this video. There I have explained everything in details. Okay, now after that, here we have the trending right now options. So first we have the category, and then we have the news. So now we need to focus into that. So for it, let's create a component called categories, and let's import that here. So here is the categories. Now let's provide this text trending right now. So let's provide the title here. So it will be similar to this title. So let me copy it and paste it here. I need to import the colors. So here it is. After that, let's create a scroll view. So I need to import the scroll view from React Native. Then within this scroll view, let's import this news category list from our categories constant. So here it is. So this have been imported, and let's use the map function to display all the items of it. So here we will get item and index. For each item I will create the button, and for the button I have created the touchable opacity, and let's provide a text for the title, and here let's provide the item title in the text. So here is the items. Now we need to provide a key. For the key I will provide the index. Now for the scroll view, let's provide horizontal, and with the horizontal I will not display any horizontal scroll indicator, and let's provide content container style. So here it will be items wrapper. Let's create that. So for the each item I will provide gap 20. For the padding I will provide padding vertical 10, and for the padding horizontal I will provide 20, and for the margin bottom I will provide 10. Now let's style these buttons. So for that let's provide style here, and it will be item, and for the text I will provide item text. So let's create the styles here. Let's create the item style. So here first I need to provide a border width. For the border color I need to provide the dark gray color. Then for the padding vertical I will provide 10, and for the padding horizontal I will provide 16. Now let's provide a border radius of 10. So now it's looking good. Now let's provide the style for the item text, and for the font size of it I will use 14. For the color of it I will use this dark gray color, and for the letter spacing I will use 0.5. Now I need to provide the options for selecting these items. So for that, here I will create these constants. First let's update the import. I have created this scroll ref, and this ref will reference to this scroll view, and then I have created this item ref, and it will reference to this touchable opacity. So that's why I have provided this as touchable opacity type. So here I will get the element, and then for the item ref let's provide the element. Now with this I can set the active index. For that I need to create handle select category function, and here we will get the index, and that is the type of number. The selected item will be this item ref current index, and I can set the active index as index. Then let's provide some animation to it. For this measure function I will get the x value. Let's scroll to x value which we are getting here. Then for the y axis we are not going to change anything, and let's set it to animated true. So now save it, and after that let's handle the select category. Let's provide that here in the on press, and here I need to pass the index. Now after saving, if I click on any category, then we are seeing the animation, but we are not seeing any active indicator because I haven't provided that. I haven't provided any styling for the active button. So for that let's create item active style, and here let's provide background color as tint color, and for the border color let's provide the same, and here I can check for it. So here if the item index is equal to index, then we will provide the item active style. Okay, now let's create item text active, and for this let's add a font weight, and for the color I will use white color. Now let's provide that for this text also. So here it will be similar. Let's check for the active index. If it matches with the index, then we will provide the item text active style. So now we can see that it is being active, right? But here we can see that when I am selecting any item, that time it is scrolling to this section, but here I want to provide some gap. So for that, here I can provide that gap. From this I am providing this scroll to animation, and here let's provide x-2. So like this I can provide that. So let's see. So here I can see that it is animating to that proper position which I wanted, right? And it is not going there because the list is end over here. But when the list has enough width, that time it is scrolling to perfect position. So that's how we have created it properly. Now we need to handle the change category. So that means when we are selecting the category, that time we need to get the category which have been selected. For that, here I am going to create a function called onCatChanged, and it will take category which will be string type, and here let's output it in a console log, and let's take it in this categories. So as prop I will get onCategoryChanged, and it will be a function which will take the category which will be string, and it will be a void function. So let's handle that here. So here in the handle select category function we can call that function, and to access that, here first we need to accept, then we can access that function here. So here it is onCategoryChanged, and here I need to pass the category, and that category would be the list index, and I will pass the slug, and here let's take that. So here for the onCategoryChanged I will provide this onCatChanged function. So now let's select sports. So here I can see sports. For technology I can see that, I can see politics and so on. So it is working perfectly well, and now this category change will help us to get the data here for this section. Okay, so now we need to focus into that. So for that section, let me create another component called news list, and let's import that here. So here for this view, let's provide container style, and let's create that container style first. So here for the margin horizontal I will provide 20 to match it properly. Now here we need to get the news, and from that list we can map through each item and display that. So that's why we need to get a news list as a prop. So let's accept that, and it will be array of news data type. So I can provide that like this, or also I can provide it like this, whatever is preferable. I use both of these things. So here let's accept news list, and now I need to update that here. So as of now, let me provide breaking news which I am fetching here. Later I will update it. So here for the news list map item, let's first take these props item and index, and then we will display the item title first. And yes, for this view let's provide index. So here we can see it, and right now here instead of view I need to provide scroll view, which needs to be imported from React Native. Okay, so that's how it is, and here I can see the items. So now let's create it. For this view let's provide a style called item container, and within it I need to first provide the image. Now for the image source I will provide image URL, and for the style of it let's provide item image. So let's create this first. First I have item container, so it will be flex direction row. Then for the align items I need to provide center. For margin bottom it will be 20, and let's provide flex 1 and gap 10. Now for the item image I need to provide width 90, height 100. For border radius I will provide 20, and for the margin right I will provide 10. Now save it. After saving, here we can see the images, right? Now after this image I need to create a view, and within that view I need to provide the title, and before that I will provide the category. So it will be item info, and then for the text let's provide style item category, and for this title let's provide item title. So let's create this. So first it is item info, let's provide flex 1 gap 10. For justify content let's use space between. Then we have the item category and we have the item title. Okay, so here is the categories we can see. So for the category font size I will use 12. For the color of it I will use dark gray, and for the text transform I will make it capitalized, so the first letter is being capitalized. Then for the item title I will provide font size 12. For the font weight I will use 600. For the color of it I will use black color. So it's looking good. Now after that we need to provide the source information. So here after the title we need to provide the source information, and for that let's create a view, and within this view let's provide the image for the source icon. For the style it will be item source image, and then for the text I will provide source name. So here for this view let's provide item source info, and for this text let's provide item source name. So let's create it. For the item source info let's provide flex direction row gap 8, and for the align items let's provide center. After that let's provide item source image. I will provide 20 for the height and width of it, and for the border radius I will provide 20. Now let's style the item source name. Font size 10. For font weight I will use 400, and for the color of it I will use dark gray. So here it is. So now the design is completed. Now after that let's provide news here. So instead of breaking news let's provide some other news. So here I am getting the breaking news, and here let me not provide any country here. For that we have the discover option, and that time I will implement that, but as of now let's not get it from any particular country. Now let's copy it and let's make it get news, and for this one I will make it 10. So 10 news I want, and here for the news I will create news state, and here let's call that get news, and here instead of breaking news let's pass the news. Here we can see list of news present here. Now for this news list container let's provide margin bottom 50. Okay, so now it's perfect. Now this is the time I need to create a loading component, because here for the breaking news I am showing this activity indicator but I am not showing anything. So here also I need to display an activity indicator. It is easy if I create a loading component, and let's provide style here. So here it will be flex 1. For justify content I will provide center, and for the align items I will provide center as well. And instead of this loading text I will provide activity indicator, and here I will pass the props. And here let me provide that it automatically gets this type for the activity indicator. So by using this I can provide this here. Let's not use the activity indicator, instead let's use loading, and for this I can use the activity indicator props such as this size prop. Now let's reload it once and let's see. So here I can see that. Now for this one I need to provide this loading state. So here first I need to check if news list dot length equal to 0, then we will return this loading component, and for this one I will provide large size, and otherwise we will display it as we were displaying it before. So now let's reload it again. So here we can see the activity indicator present for this section also. Right, now I need to handle the select category, and by selecting category I need to fetch the data for that particular category. So for the get news, here we are going to get category, and that will be a type of string, and by default it will be empty. and here let me comment out these consoles. Now for this on category changed, let's set the news as blank array first. Then we are setting the news here in the get news. Let's call the get news, and here let's pass the category which we are accepting here. So now we need to handle this category in this URL. Here we are not providing any category, so we need to provide the category like this, and here we can provide the category like politics or technology like this, right? Let me just remove it from here, and let's create a variable called category string, and that will be empty by default. And let's see if the category length is not equal to 0, that means some category is present here. That time I will update this category string, and that will be like this. So it will be category like this. Okay, so let's provide that here, category string. So now save it. So by default it is this. Now let's change the category, so it is politics. So now we can see the politics category is present here, so every news is of politics category. Now let's select science. Now it is science category news only, right? So it is working perfectly well. So now we are done with this. After that we need to display the news. That means when we will click on a news, that time it should open that news. So for that, within this app directory I will create another directory called news, and within news I have created this IDTSX, and here it will be news details, and here we can get the ID by the local search params hook, and here we can get the ID, and that ID is type of string. Let me first output that ID here. So now let's go to this breaking news, and for the breaking news we need to go to the slider item, and here we have the item. Let's provide a touchable opacity here, and let's provide a link for this touchable opacity, and this link needs to be imported from export outer. And for this link href, let's provide the article ID, news article ID, and by this we will go to this file. Now after that I need to provide this as child prop to pass this link to this touchable opacity, and now I need to close this link here. Now after saving, let's go to this. So here I can see the item, and after clicking it I have went to this page. So here I need to create the design of it. Here first I need to customize the header, and for that I need to create the stack screen, and this stack needs to be imported from export outer. Here for the screen options, let's provide header left, and here let's provide icon icon, and it will be arrow back. For the size of it I will use 22. So that is how it is looking right now. And let's provide the back functionality here. For that let's provide on press of it, and for this on press let's provide router. This router needs to be imported from export outer, and let's provide back. Okay, so back functionality is there. Now let's click here, and here let's customize the other part of the header. For the header right, it will be same as this one. It is touchable opacity and then icon, and for the icon it will be heart outline. For the size of it I will use 22, and for the on press of it, as of now I'm providing a blank function. For the title I will provide empty string like this. Now with this ID which I am getting, with this ID I need to fetch the news data. So let's go to this index, and it will be similar to this. So let's copy it and let's paste it here, and it will be get news, set news, and I need to create these states also. So I have copied it, and now let's update the import. Now here we don't need to provide all of these things because it is already been filtered, and we don't need the size because we only want to fetch the news specific to this ID. So let's provide ID and let's provide the ID here. Now here after that I need to check if is loading is set to true, then I need to provide the loading component, otherwise we can provide this. So instead of this, let's provide news title, and for it will be like this, but let me see. Okay, so here the import is not done. Okay, so let's see. So here is the title. For now we are getting only one response. Why I am using this as news array, and that is because let's copy an article ID, and here let's change this to ID equal to some ID. So here also I can see that we are getting the same kind of response, but for this one we are getting only one result, and we are getting the results array, and within that we are getting only one data, but the array is there, right? So it is the news data array, and as we will get the only one data, I know the position of it, so that's why I have provided 0 here. So let's copy it again for the content. Now let's save it. So here we can see the loader, but it is not loading, and to fix that, here in the use effect hook I need to call the get news. Now let's save it. So here we can see the data, right? Now let's style it. So first it will be scroll view. Let's provide style here. So for the content container style I have provided container, colors white. For margin horizontal let's provide 20, and for the padding bottom let's provide 30. Okay, so here I can see that it is showing like this. So here let's provide style like this. So now it is looking good. Now after this title I need to provide the image, and for this image source let's provide this. For the style of it let's provide news image, and for it will be 100% width. For the height it will be 300. Let's see. Okay, the source is not perfect. It would be URI then this. So here is the image. Now let's provide margin bottom 20, and let's provide a border radius of 10 pixel. So now the image is looking good, right? Now above the image I want to provide the news information. So after the title let's create a view, and in this view let's provide the text, and here it will be this date, the publishing date, and after that it will be source name. Let's provide style for this view, news info wrapper, and for both of the text it will be same style, news info. So let's create that news info wrapper. First it will be flex direction row, then for the justify content it will be space between. Now for the margin bottom let's provide 20. After that for the news info font size it will be 12, and for the color of it will be colors dot light gray. Okay, let's not use the light gray, let's use dark gray. Now for the title let's provide some style. So for the font size it will be 16. For font weight it will be 600. For the color let's use black color. Now for the margin vertical I will use 10. For the letter spacing I will provide 0.6. So now it's looking good. Now let's provide the style for this news content. So let's create that. For the font size I will provide 14. For the color of it I will provide this color. For letter spacing it will be 0.8, and for the line height I will provide 22. So now it is much more readable. Now here I want to do a checking. I have seen that some of the news don't have content but they have description. if that is the case, then we need to handle that. If the content is present, then we will display the content, otherwise we will display the description. So that's how I have handled it. If we don't have the content present, then we will display the description of the news. Now I need to update this date and time to make it much more readable, and to do that I can use moment package, and that I need to import first, and now I can use it here. So let me cut it from here. Okay, it will be like this. So let's use moment, then the data, and then we can format it like this. So let's provide formatting. So first we will display month and then the date, and then we will display the time, and last I will display AM or PM. So like this I have provided it, and you can get these formatting informations from the documentation of the Moment.js website. So here we can see the format options, and here we have all the informations related to it. Whatever you want, you can customize it, right? So they have provided all the informations over here. So that's how I have provided it. As it is done, now we can check it for another news. Okay, so it is working perfectly well. So now I need to update this clicking functionality for these news items also. So that I can do here. So let me copy it from here. It will be this. Let's import touchable opacity and link. So here instead of slide item, it will be item. Now save it. Here it is showing the error, and that is for the key. So here let's provide that. So we don't need the key for this view. Now let's go to any other category. So let's check the news. So here we can see it is working perfectly well, right? So we are done with the home page. Now after that we need to focus into this discover screen. So for the discover screen, first we need to create a search bar. So here we can see we need to create a search bar. Then we have categories and country. We have already created search bar for our home screen, so that we can use. So it will be search bar. Let's import that. Here we can see the search bar, but it is at the extreme top. I don't want that. That's why I need to provide the padding top. So like this, as I have provided here, I need to provide the same thing for the discover screen also. So let me import this from React Native Safe Area context, and here let's provide the padding top, and with that I will add 20 pixel. So now it's looking good. Now after that, let's create a text called categories, and here it is at the left side. For that, let's provide a padding 20, but with the padding 20 I can see that this search bar is also getting shrinked, and that is because for the search bar we have already provided a margin horizontal. That works perfectly fine for the home screen, as we have provided margin horizontal for each of the components. We haven't provided the margin or padding horizontal throughout the screen, because we have this section and this section which is expanded throughout the screen. So here that works, but for the discover screen it doesn't work properly, because for this screen I have provided a padding horizontal across the screen. So that we need to fix, and that we can do here. So here let's create a prop called with horizontal padding, and it will be boolean. So here let's provide a checking. If it would be horizontal padding, then we will provide a padding horizontal or margin horizontal. Both will work same. So now it has fixed over here, but for this one it doesn't. So let me update it. So for the search bar, let's provide with horizontal padding, and here it will be true. So here it is now perfectly fine. Now for the discover screen, let's provide that as false. Now for the categories, I will provide title. Let's create title here, and it will be similar to the title which we have provided here. So let me copy it from here and paste it here. and here we don't have the margin left, so now it's fine. After that, let's create category items, and for that I will create a view first, and let's call that view list container, and let's provide some style for this list container. So here first the flex direction would be row, then for the flex wrap I will provide wrap, for the gap I will provide 16, then for the margin top let's provide 12, and for the margin bottom I will provide 20. Now within it let's provide the categories, which is this news category list. So here let's call this, so we need to import it from categories. Then for each item I am displaying this text. So now it is looking good, but I don't want to display the text only, I want to display the buttons like this. Okay, so let's get rid of this and let's create a component called checkbox, and let's call it here. Okay, now let's go to checkbox, and here we need to accept few props. So first we will accept label, and that will be string type, then it would be checked, it would be a boolean, and finally we will have a onPress function, so that will be this. So here let's accept those. Let's provide a style called container, and then for the text it will be label, and the style for it would be label. So now let's create container. Let's provide flex direction row, because along with the text we will have the checkmark icon also, so that's why we need to provide row. Then for the justify content center, align items center, then for border width 1, for padding vertical it will be 8. Now after that let's create label. For the font size of the label I will provide 14, and for the color I will provide tint color. Okay, so here for the discover let's first provide key, and that would be item ID. Then for the label let's provide item.title, then for the checked let's provide item.selected. So here by default we have provided selected as false, and that we are providing here, and let's provide onPress, and as of now it will be blank function. Okay, so it will be black color. Now for the border color here I will provide the black color as well, and for the padding horizontal let's provide 16, and for the border radius I will provide 32. So now it's looking good. Now beside this text let's create the checkmark icon as well, and for that I will create a view, and within this view I will create that icon. That would be from Ant Design, and name of the icon is check circle. For the size of it I will use 14, and for the color of it I will use tint color. So this is the icon. By default they will not be presented. When a category will be selected, that time this icon will be presented. So now we need to create that animation. So here for this view let's provide a style. Let's call it icon wrapper. Let's provide margin left 8. For the height and width I will provide 14. So now it's looking good. Now after that let's create the animations. So first we need to provide animation for this container. This needs to be animated view, and now let's create the animation style. Let's call it rn animated container style, and it will be use animated style from React Native reanimated. And here let's return some styles. First it would be a background color. If it is checked, then I will provide a background color to this complete button, and that will be this color, this RGB color with a opacity. Otherwise it will be a transparent as it is right now, and I will provide this with some animation, and that would be a timing. So with some timing I will provide that color change. So let's provide a duration here, and the duration would be 150 millisecond. Now with the background color I need to change the border color as well, so it will be similar to this. So it will be with timing, and then I need to check for the checked property. If it is checked, then the color of it would be tint color, otherwise it would be black color as it is now. And now let's also provide the duration, and it will be same as this one. And here I need to provide padding left 16, for padding right if it is checked then it will be 10, otherwise normally it would be 16. So we don't need this padding horizontal, we are providing this padding left and padding right. So padding right based on this checked. So as of now you can see that I have provided this icon, and at this side it seems little bit bigger than the left side, so that's why I have provided this checked. If it is checked then the padding right would be 10, otherwise it would be 16. So let's provide that style here, and let's change any category as selected. So here we can see that's how it will display, right? Now we need to provide some animation style for this text also. So after this container style, let's create rn text style, and it will be same as this use animated style. Here we will change the color. So when it will be selected, that time it will have the tint color. So it will be same as this one. So let me just copy it and paste it here. And for this use animated style, I can provide dependencies, and the dependencies would be this checked. And here also let's provide that whenever this checked prop will change, that time this animation will trigger. So let's provide that here. It would be animated text. So that's how it is showing right now. Now update this icon view. This will also be animated view. And here let's check for this checked property. If it is true, then we will show this one like this. And let's provide some entering and exiting animation here. For the entering animation, I will provide fade in, and let's provide a duration. It would be 350. Then for the exiting, let's provide fade out. And this fade in, fade out needs to be imported from React Native Reanimated. So that is the style and the animation which I want to provide here. Now I need to make it dynamic. Instead of setting it true here, I need to set it when I will click here. So for that I will create a new directory called hooks, and within hooks I will create use news categories hooks. So here let's create use news categories, and let's create news categories state, and by default I will provide news category list here. So I need to import it from the categories constant. After that let's create toggle news category function, and it will have use callback hook. And here we will pass id, and the id would be type of number. And in this function we can set news categories. We will get previous news categories and update them. So within this return, let's check for the previous categories and map through each item. So we will get item here, and then here we can check if the item id is matching with the id passed here. Then I will copy all the property of the item and update which I want. So I want to update this selected property as the opposite of whatever it is. So if it is false, then it will set it to true. If it is true, then it will set it as false by this operator. And now after this, I need to return the item. That's how I can update the news categories list. Now after that, let's return news categories and toggle news category. And here we need to export this function. So from here we will get these two values. So first one would be the news categories. Whatever the news category list is present, that we can get from here. And by this function, this toggle category, we can check or uncheck these categories, right? So now here let's import those. So we need to import use news categories, and here we can get news categories and toggle news categories. And now for the onPress function, let's call toggle news category, and let's pass the item ID here. Now I need to update few things here. So for this animated view, I can provide on touch end, and here let's provide this onPress function. and here instead of using news category list, I need to use this news categories which we are getting from this hook. So here we are updating this state from this toggle news category, and these news categories have the list. So that's why it needs to be news categories from here. So now after saving, here we can see that it is being selected. So let's click here. So that's how it is working. I can see that it is having that animation, but it is not perfect, right? So I need to fix few things, and I can do that by providing a layout here. So here I can provide a linear transition, and let's provide a springify effect, and with the springify I can provide a mask to it, and that I will provide 0.8. Now after that, let's see. So now it is looking much better, right? So it is done. Now after that we have the country list, and it would be same as it is. So let's copy it again. Let's call it country, and here instead of this news categories we have the country list. So here let's copy this use news categories hook, and let's create another new hook called use news country, and let's paste it here, and here it would be news countries, and here it would be country list, and here it would be toggle news country. Here we are having an error. Let's see. So for the country list we don't have the ID, so I cannot check it with ID, but for the map function I can get the index. So instead of checking item ID, I can check the index with the ID, and it will have the same effect. So now save it. Now after that, here let's copy it, and it would be use news countries and toggle news country. So here it would be news countries, here it would be index, and instead of item title it would be name of the country. Okay, so now save it. After that, let's see. Okay, so it is updating this value. So it is because I'm using toggle news category. I need to use toggle news country function. Now save it. After that, let's see. So it is working perfectly well for this one, and for this one it is okay as it was before. Now after this, let's create a touchable opacity and provide a text in it, and let's call it a search. So it is the search button. So let's provide style search button text. So let's create the style for this search button. Let's provide background color as tint color. For the align items, let's provide center. For the padding, I will provide 14 pixel. For the border radius, let's provide 10, and for the margin vertical, I will provide 10 as well. Now after that, it is search button text. For the text color, I need to provide white color. For the font size, I will provide 16. For the font weight, I will use 600. So it is done. Now after that, for searching we need to pass all these values. We need to pass the search query, then this category and the country to the new screen where we will have the news based on these requirements. So that's why we need to take these values. So first we need to get the search query. So let me create search query state. After that I will create category, and let's create country, and now we need to take those values. So here for the search bar we are not taking those values, so we need to first go to the search bar, and here let's take the set search query, and that is a function. So let's take this prop, and here for the on change text we will set that. We will get the text, so let's call it query, and for the set search query I will set this query. We can pass this query to this function. So let's pass it, and from it we will get the search query. So we have handled the search query. Now after that we need to get the country and category. So first here we have the category. Now within onPress, after this toggle news category, let's set the category, and here I will set item slug as category. So here we can see we have the slugs present. So the slug is basically without the capital character, it is all the small characters, and also these are the categories which the newsdata.io accepts. So that format we need to provide. And here for all, I haven't provided anything because for the newsdata.io API we don't have any category called all. If we want to fetch news related to all types of categories, then we don't need to set the category at all. So that's why I have provided the slug as empty string, and for the other categories I have provided the slugs. Now after that, let's set the country. So here for the set country, I can provide country code. So here let's see. So for all the countries, here I can see I have the country code, and also these are the codes which is accepted by the API. And for all, I haven't provided anything because there is no code for all countries, so that's empty. And for other countries, I have provided those codes, and by the country code the API fetch the news data. So that's why I am using it here. Now as we are getting all these values, we need to pass it to a new screen, and we need to create that screen here. So I will create that screen within this news directory. So within it I will create a search.tsx file, and here on this page I am going to display the search result. So for this, let's provide link, and for this link href, let's provide the path name, and the path name would be news search. And with this I will pass some params, and those params would be, first I will provide query, and that would be the search query which we are getting here. So I am getting the set search query from the search bar, and from here I am getting this search query state with the value of the query. Now after that, let's provide category and country. So I will name those as category and country, and we have the same name state present. So that's why I can provide those like this. But for this one, I will call this parameter as query, and I am passing this search query. So that's why I have set it like this. Now save it. After that, here we can get those values. So here by this use local search params hook, I can get those values. So first we will get the query, and that will be string type, then the category, that is also a string, and then the country, and it will be a string also. So now we can get those values. Let's check it here. So first we have the search query, then the category, then country. So yeah, it's fine. Now let's go to discovery screen, and here let's do a search. So let's provide ABC, let's select a category and select a country. Now let's click on search, and it is not working, and also the design is not looking good, and that is because I need to provide as child here. Now it is fine. Now let's click here. So here we can see the search query, the category, and the country. So this is the country code, that is the category slug, and this is the query string, whatever I have provided in the search bar. Right, so we are getting the parameter here properly. Now we need to search based on this. So here let's go to this index, and here for this get news I have already provided API calling details. So now I can copy it from here, and let's provide that here. And as I have used some of these states over there, so let me copy those from here as well. So now let's update the import. For this function we are not passing any category, but we will get the category here. So first we will create this category string variable, and then we will check if we have the category, then we will create the category string. So similarly we need to create country string, and then we need to create query string. So let me copy this. So it would be for country, and for the country string we will change it as country like this, and then we have the query, and if we will have the query, then we will create query string like this, but here it will be q equal to query. So all these things are present in the news data documentation, So here we can see we have these different kinds of advanced search. We have Q, Q in title and Q in meta. There are three types of advanced search present, which is searching the data in different fields of the response. If it is Q, then this Q is searching for the query in all of the fields. The Q in title, as the name suggests, it is searching in the title of the news only, and Q in meta, it is searching in the metadata of the news. If you want to know more about it, then they have provided a detailed blog over here. You can visit that. You can get to know more about it from this blog. Okay, so here they have mentioned all these things. So that's what I am using. I am using Q here so that it will search from all of the fields in the response. And now after that, let's provide those strings here. So here we have already category string present. Now let's provide the country string, and then let's provide query string. Now save it. After that, first we need to update the header. So for the header, let's import stack from export outer, and let's customize this back button. I don't want to display these tabs here. I need to change that, and for that let's provide a touchable opacity here, and let's provide arrow back, and let's provide a 22 size to it. And for the on press of it, let's go back, so it will be router, and this router needs to be imported from export outer, and after that we will provide the back function, so it will go back to previous screen, right? So now let's change the country, so it is working fine. And now for the title, let's provide search. So now it's looking good. Now after that, here let's get rid of this text, and let's check if is loading is true. Then we need to display the loading component, and here let's provide the size, and it will be large size. Now after that, if it is not loading, then we need to display the news, and for that I will use flat list. So for the data, I will provide the news. So here we are setting the news, so let's use this news as data. Then we need to provide key extractor, so I am copying it from this breaking news and pasting it here. It will be similar as this. Then for the vertical scroll indicator, I will set it to false, and then for the render item, let's render the data, and here we will get index and item. So let's return item title first, and here for this view, let's provide a style called container, and let's provide some margin. So here at the center, I'm seeing this loader. It is showing the loader because the get news function is not being called, so let's call it in use effect hook. So here let's call this get news. Now let's save it. Now after that, here we can see the list of news present, right? So we are getting the response properly. Now I want it to display like this, and I have already created that before in news list. So here we have created that. So let me separate this view in a new component, and let's name that as news item. Let's paste it here, and here we need to have the item prop. So we will get the item prop, and it will be news data type. So let's get that item. So now it is fine, right? And now we need to export that here, so that I can access this from other files as well. And here within this touchable opacity, we need to display this news item, and for the item I need to pass the item here. So after that, it would be same, nothing will be changed for this. But for the discover, here let's click on search. So here we are getting the search result. Here we need to display the news item, and let's pass the item here, and here also it is the same. We are getting the item, so we can pass that. So it is looking good, right? But we cannot click here, so for that I need to copy all these things with the link. So here let's provide that and update the import. So now we are seeing the result. Now if I click here, then we are going to the news detail screen, right? So it's working perfectly fine. So here let's select technology, let's provide space as the query, and now let's do a search. So now we are getting the news related to the specific query and the category and country specific news. After that, as we have done this, now functionally we are left with this saved screen, which is for the bookmark. So for that, let's go here, let's open a news, and for the bookmark, from this button we will set the bookmark. So in this news detail screen, we need to work for the bookmark first. Then we will go to the save tab to display those bookmark news. So here in the news detail screen, we need to work on that. And for that, let's here create a bookmark state, and by default it would be set to false. And now after that, here let's create save bookmark function, and it will be an async function, and to this function we will pass the news id, and this id would be type of string. And first we will set the bookmark state as true. Now let's work on the setting the bookmark, and that we will do by using async storage. So let's import async storage from the async storage package, and then here we will get the item. If we will have the bookmark data present, that we need to take first, and then we will add on to that. So that's why we need to get the item, and we need to provide the await keyword before the async storage. Here the item name I will provide bookmark, and then we will get a token, and here let's get the response, and here we will parse that token data. So here let's check for the response. If the response not equal to null, so that means some value is present here, then we'll create the data. So here in the response we will check the value, and we will get the value here, and it would be string type. And let's check for the value if the value is equal to news id or not. So we will check if the response have any value, then we will check if the value is matches with the news id which is being passed to this function or not. And if it not matches, that means the data will be null, then we will add the data. So we are going to add the news id only. So we are adding this news id which have been passed here, and now let's set the async storage. So for the item I have provided the bookmark name, so that's what I need to set here. And let's provide JSON stringify, and here I will provide the response, and with that I can provide an alert. So let's provide new saved message. So here we are checking if the response is not equal to null, so that means some data is already present in the async storage. Now we need to handle if nothing is present, so that means this is the first bookmark item, so that also we need to handle. For that, let me create a bookmark variable which is an empty array, and there let's add the news id which is being passed here, and then we will set the data. So it would be same as this, and let me copy this alert also, and here instead of res I will provide this bookmark. So that's how we can save the bookmark. Now I need to call this function for the on press, call this save bookmark function, and here I need to pass the news id, and that we can get by this. So news 0 index, then let's provide article id. So now save it. Now after saving, let's click here. So with that I can see the alert is there, the news saved. So this function triggered, and as this is the first item is bookmarked, so this else section have been triggered. Now as I am setting the bookmark state as true here, so I can check that in this icon also. So here let's check if bookmark is true, then I will display heart icon, otherwise it would be heart outline. So if the bookmark is saved or set it true, then it will be this, otherwise it will be this outline style. Now for the color I will check for the same, and if the bookmark is set to true, then it will be red, otherwise it will be black color for the outline as it is right now. So after saving, we can see that it has been changed, because for this one we have updated the bookmark as true. Now as I am saving the bookmark, I need to provide a functionality to remove it. So after this save bookmark function, let's create remove bookmark function, and it will be an async function. And for this one also we will get a news id, and for this one we need to set the bookmark as false. Now after that, let's copy this. So here we are getting the async storage item bookmark, and we are getting the response, and here we will filter out the news id which we have passed here. So that's why I have used filter function, and here we will get a data. I am calling it as id, and it would be type of string. So by this I am filtering out this particular id which is matching with this news id. Otherwise this news id, we will have others id present in this raise constant, and that we are returning. To accept that, I need to create a variable here called bookmark. So let me set the item here. So this is the updated bookmark, and we need to provide the async storage item name as the same name as we have provided here. So it is the bookmark item, and here let's do the JSON stringify, and let's provide the bookmark here. After that, we can provide an alert called news unsaved, and here it is throwing an error, and that is because of this bracket. I need to close that here. So now after that the error has gone. Now let's call that function here. So here it will be based on the bookmark state. If the bookmark is true, then we can remove it. Otherwise, if we don't have the bookmark, then we can save the bookmark, right? So let me copy it from here and paste it here, so we can remove it like this. So now let's click here. So after clicking here, it is showing news unsaved. Now let's again click here. So it is news saved. So that means the save bookmark and remove bookmark is working perfectly well, right? So now it is saved. Now let's go back and again open it. Now after opening it, we cannot see the red heart here, but it was bookmarked, right? And that is because we are updating the set bookmark as true or false when we are clicking on this button. So when this save bookmark or remove bookmark function is being called, that time this thing is being saved. Otherwise, when we are just visiting that particular news, that time we are not setting the bookmark. By default it is false, and it should be false by default, because not every news should be bookmarked or shown as bookmark, right? By default it is false. It is absolutely fine, but we need to check if this particular news is already saved in bookmark or not. So for that I need to create another function, and I will call that function render bookmark. And here also similarly I will pass a news id, and I will check for the response here. So let me copy it from here and paste it here. So here first let's close this curly braces and this parenthesis. Now after that, if we will have some response, then let's create this data variable. We will check for the news id in the result. It would be similar as this one. So let me paste that here, and then let's return if data equal to null. That means it doesn't find that news id in the response. Then the set bookmark will be set as false, because no bookmark found for this particular news id. Otherwise it would be set as true, because that time this particular news id is in the bookmark async storage item. Now we need to call this render bookmark function in a use effect hook, and that use effect hook will work when isLoading changes. By default we have provided true, so the isLoading is true, and that time we don't have any response from the API. But when the isLoading changes, that time we will have the response. So that time we can pass the news id to this render bookmark function. So now we can get that article id. So now let's save it. Okay, it is throwing an error. Let's provide another checking here. If isLoading is not true, that time we will set this render bookmark. Now save it. And now let's see if we can get that specific news So we are not getting that news, but let me go to another new news. So here we can set the bookmark, so it is being saved. Now let's go back and visit another news. So here obviously we haven't saved it as bookmark, so it is absolutely fine, but this one I have saved. Now let's go to this, and here we can see it is showing that red heart, so it is bookmarked, and this render bookmark function is working absolutely fine as it should. So the bookmark functionality is working perfectly well. Now I need to display those bookmark data here. So for that, let's go to saved file, and here we need to work on that. So here first I will create a state called bookmark news, and by default it will be an empty array. And also I need to create this is loading state. By default it will be set to true. Now after that I will create a function called fetch bookmark, and it will be an async function, and here let's import async storage, then get the item, and the item is bookmark. Now after that let's get the item value as token, and then let's create the response variable, and we need to parse the JSON data. Now here if the response is available, then first output the response, and now let me call it in use effect hook. So now let's save, and here we can see we have an array with the 2 ID. We are getting the data properly. Now I need to create a string in which the news article ID would be present separated by comma. So for that let's create a query string. I will create the string like this, so let me output it in the console. So it is query string. So now after saving, here we can see first we are getting the response as the array, then after that I am creating a string from the ID present in the array with comma separated them, and now I can use this query string in the API call. So here let's call the API by the Axios, and here as I am using await, so here I need to use async, and now here let me copy the API call from here. So here we have the ID to get the single news data. Also in this ID I can provide multiple news ID to fetch the multiple news data. So we can provide this query string, so this will be present there. So it is multiple news ID separated by comma, which we are providing in this ID. So by this we will get the news data for all of the IDs present here in this query string. Now after that let's create a constant called news, and here we will store the news and then set the bookmark news with the data, and the data is this news. Otherwise we can directly use this one also. So let me use that. It would be much more easier to understand, as here we have done that. Right. Now we need to set is loading as false. Now for the else case, if the response is not present in this async storage get item, nothing is present here, then we don't have any bookmark news, so it will be an empty array. That time also we will set the is loading as false. Now after that, here we need to present those data. So here first I need to create the header, and for that I have imported this stack, and for this option let me provide header shown as true. I want to display the header here, and this title is okay. Now after that I need to check for the is loading. If is loading is set to true, then we will display the loading component, otherwise we will display the news, and that would be similar to this search page. So I can copy this flat list code from here and paste it here. Now I need to update the import. Now finally import the news item, and here for the data, instead of news I need to provide this bookmark news, which I am setting here, right? So it would be bookmark news. Now save it. Okay, so here we are seeing the data, but the style is not correct, and that is because of this justify center. And here let me provide a margin 20. So now it's looking good, and here is the news which I have bookmarked. Okay, so now it is showing here, so we can visit the news from here. And on this page we have the functionality to remove the bookmark, right? So I have removed it. Now if I go back, then again I'm seeing that, but it shouldn't be that. So that's why I will create a constant called isFocused, and here I will use this use isFocused hook, which is from React Navigation. So whenever this isFocused changed, that time it will fetch the bookmark. So that means whenever I will visit this tab, that time it will update. So now let's see here. So I have saved this, another one, let's save that. Okay, now after that let's go here. So here you can see when I have visited here, that time it updated. Now let's visit this. Now if I remove it, let's go back, then it is getting removed. And here initially I can see that the previous news is present, then it is updating. I need to fix that, and for that I need to set is loading as true here. Now from here let's remove it and let's go back. Now we are not seeing the previous news. First we are seeing the loader, and then when the fetch bookmark is completed, then it is showing the bookmark news, right? So this functionality is working perfectly fine. So all the features are complete. Now I'm left with this setting screen, and it is just the UI. So let me just quickly do it. So now let's go to this setting screen, and here first I need to create the header, and for that let's import the stack, and here let's provide header shown as true. Now after that, for this view I need to create few buttons, and for the container let's get rid of this. Let's create the button with touchable opacity, and here let's provide the text. So first it will be about, then we need to provide an icon, and it would be material icon, and for the name for it I will provide arrow forward iOS, and for the size of it let's provide 16, and for the color of it I will provide light gray color. So here we can see that. Now let's provide some style. So for this touchable opacity I will name it as item button, then for it let's provide item button text. So let's create this. So for this item button, the flex direction would be row, justify content space between, so it would be like this. So here let me provide a padding 20. Let's provide a background color, and that would be white color. Let's provide padding horizontal 16 and padding vertical 20. Now let's style for this button text. For the font weight I will provide 500, and the font size is 14. Let me copy it few more time. So after this about, I will provide this send feedback button, then privacy policy, terms of use, and then I will provide dark mode, and at last I will provide logout. So these are the buttons. I want to provide a separator in between them. So for that let's provide border bottom color, and that would be this color, and for the border bottom width I will use 1 pixel. So here we can see a line, so it is separating all these buttons, right? Now for the logout I will display logout button, and for the color of it I will use red color, and the same for the text color also. So now it is looking good. Now for the dark mode, instead of this material icon I will use switch. So here I need to provide track color. So if it is false, then I will provide this color. If it is true, then I will provide this color. For the thumb color I will provide this color. Now I need to provide a value here, and we need to provide the functionality to change that, because as I'm clicking here it is switching, but it is going back to previous state. So that's why I need to provide that. So let me quickly copy paste some of the things here. So I have created this is enabled state, and by default it is false, and I have created this toggle switch function. So here we are setting the is enabled as true or false. It is just toggling the state. So if it is false, then it is true. If it is true, then it will set it to false, right? So here I need to check if it is enabled, then I will show this color, otherwise I will display this color. And here for the switch we have this iOS background color, and this is specific to iOS as the name suggests. For this one I will provide this color, and for the on value change let me provide that toggle switch function, and for the value it would be is enabled value. Okay, so now we can see that it is updating properly, right? Now I want to make it small, so for that let's provide a style, and I can make it small by providing this transform style. For the scale X let's provide 0.6, and for the scale Y also I will provide 0.6. so instead of scale X and Y I will provide scale 0.6. so now here we can see that, and here this button is taking much more space, so for that let's provide some style here. So the margin bottom 15, and this one is not properly aligned with these icons, so that's why I will provide margin right -8. So now it is looking similar to the other buttons. And for this touchable opacity I will provide this toggle switch function, so that with this button we can do that. So that is the setting screen. Here I haven't added any functionality, so that's how we are completed with this app. So now finally let's reload this app and let's see what we have done. So we have this welcome screen. Now let's click on get started, and with this we have the news, right? And then we have these options, we have these different categories. So for all the categories we are getting the news, and here for this breaking news I'm seeing a different language. So let's see. Okay, the language is set it to English. So now we can go to any other category also, and let's open the news, and we can save bookmark. From here we can discover the news. Let's check for the news based on this criteria, and here also we can set the bookmark. Now let's go to saved to see the bookmarks. Okay, and we are seeing it. Now we can remove it from here, and it is updated, so the bookmark functionality is fine. And then we have this setting screen which does nothing, but it's making the app complete. Okay, so finally let's reload it. So this is the tutorial guys, and here I am seeing a different language, but here I have set the language. Maybe something is wrong, the API is not working as it should, but the app is working perfectly well, right? So this is the tutorial guys. I hope you have learned something new from this tutorial. If you do so, then hit the like button, subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this, and let me know by commenting down below. If you have any kind of suggestion for me, then also let me know. And don't forget to share this tutorial with your friends and colleagues, and I will see you guys in my next tutorial. In the meantime, have a great day. Goodbye.